Hello, hello, hello. Let me share this. Highlight. And so I have everyone. If you're in, when you come in, introduce yourself, say what's up. We'll get started here in just a second. Lisa, what's going on? Dr. Charlotte, what's happening? I almost commented on your thing because how fitting was it that you decided to take a picture with the money bag? Time I got. Get started in about 30 seconds. Who was here from last time? If anybody was here from last time, you can drop a fire down there. A little fire emoji. Make sure my notes don't die out. Whew, we're gonna dig into some stuff tonight. Love it. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Um, so hopefully you have been enjoying this series so far. This is only episode 2. We got a lot more to go, a lot more to talk about, and I'm excited to share with you. So last week, for those of you that missed it, uh, we talked about your relationship with God, right? This whole series is definitely geared towards those who serve in the creative arts in church, primarily music, right? Musicians, but singers are included, audio visual is included, dance is included, choir members, um, and pastors, right? Um, Included in pastors are worship arts directors, choir directors, ministers of music, um, any sort of creative director. It's a lot of different like positionings starting to happen in churches now. We have like experienced pastors and things of that nature. So those who either pastor the church, period, or pastor and kind of watch over, administrate, et cetera, the creative arts departments as well. Okay, it's our goal. It's my goal to kind of give information that's going to help us do ministry, a together, b better, right, and to help unify these parts of the body. Okay, so we talked about your relationship with God, right? Which is my belief that that should be your baseline in life, period, but especially in service in the church. If you do not have a relationship with God and you're trying to work, serve, benefit from His house, it's not, it's, you're just missing out, like honestly. But it's just not the proper order, if you ask me. Okay. And today we're going to be talking about your relationship with the pastor, with the leader of that organization, with the leader of that department. Okay. And the reason why we're starting these things, right, is because it does have to do with worship. We're not necessarily talking about a slow song right now. We're not talking about string patches right now. We're not talking about bells and drum loops right now, right? As I was doing some scripture study and kind of even preparing to start teaching the series again, I was looking up some Old Testament and New Testament definitions of worship, and the same definitions, the same explanations, the same descriptors kept popping up, and it deals with, well, the one I'm going to focus on deals with like acknowledgement, reverence, service of a higher power, of a greater deity, right? Worship is a lifestyle. It's not any of the things I just mentioned as far as a string patch or a drum loop or a slow song or a tempo or whatever. Worship says, I serve God. Worship is living a life that says, I serve not only a greater power or a greater deity, but Yahweh being the specific deity, right? People go out and they have different beliefs and they serve other masters and they do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, and that's their business. But it's my belief that worship says, no, I serve the one true and living God. I serve Yahweh. I serve Jesus Christ. And my life is reflective of that. The way I treat people reflects that. The way I carry myself reflects that. The way I serve in my house or serve in his house reflects that. Okay? So that's why we're starting with these specific things. Okay? So, again, if you're going to serve in any house in any capacity, but in this case, we're talking about those in the creative arts. Um, yes, it's good, important to have a relationship with God, but it's just as important to have a relationship with the head of that house, which would be the pastor. Okay, um, like I said, or the worship arts pastor, worship arts director, minister of music, whatever. And I say that because, um, sometimes when churches get large, right, you don't get the luxury all the time of having a interpersonal relationship with the head pastor. Okay, it's just a lot going on, and I say that to bring clarity and revelation to the body because and y'all see it too. There's so much going on about the pastor don't care about me. The pastor just be hiding out in his office or her office, or it's hard to pull the pastor aside for X Y Z, and it's hard to do this. And in some cases, you might have a point. I'm not going to gaslight you. I'm not going to hold you. But sometimes the church is not set up that way. The organizational structure is not set up that way. And there's just too much going on for for the pastor to make themselves ready, available to you. And a lot of times what will happen is they'll have auxiliaries in place that deal with that. They'll have intercessors, they'll have elders, they'll have, like I said, these worship arts directors, these worship pastors, these ministers of music who are available to do said things. Okay? All right. So why is this relationship important? Okay. Uh, let's talk to music directors for a second. Let's talk to um, those who probably have a high chance of having that interpersonal relationship with the pastor. If you are the music director, if you are the worship arts director, if you are the head point person for your worship arts department, right, or for the band or whatever, it's important for you to have this relationship because that pastor is the one that God set as the head visionary for that house. Okay. So every primary question that you're going to have about how to function in that role, how to build that department, is going to come from the pastor. Okay. What do I mean? Distinguishing and establishing the sound of the house, right? It's not a free for all. It's not a cherry picking session. There's a lot to choose from out here, right? And it's not just whatever you like. It can't be whatever you like. Now, if you're lucky, those things add up, and you're fine, and it's okay, and we can do songs that we like, and all of that stuff, and we'll be fine. But it's important to check in with that pastor to say, hey, what's the sound of the house? What are you looking for? Are we going more in the prophetic flow? Are we more traditional with choirs and robes? Are we CCM? Are we more gospel? Are we modern? Are we, whatever? What are we doing? Right? To just get some framework, right? Do you like a lot of choirs? Are you more praise team oriented? Do you like songs and full praise team for altar call? Do you like the praise team to come with you when you go on travel engagements? Do are we opening up with a song? What's your service structure like? How many songs do we do for praise and worship? Or how long is our praise and worship set? Are we getting theatrical? Are we including like a theater department and doing skits and stuff during service? Is there a dance team? Is there like all of that comes from him or her, right? Uh, so it's important that you know that, so you know how to structure your team, so that way service can flow the way it's supposed to. It can be easy. It can hopefully happen a lot easier. Okay. Uh, Unity is very important. Unity is very important. This is a part of that, right? If you're not bought into or fully briefed on the vision, it's going to be hard to serve together, serve in unity, to where the next person can pick back up off the last person, and it just continues to go higher and higher and higher, right? Or there's no friction in service because we have an understanding about how we do things. We have an understanding about what time we show up. We have an understanding about how we treat people, how we serve, the level of excellence. We have an understanding about how the pastor likes to flow, right? About the culture and the atmosphere that we have to or would like to create, right? Uh, so that's very important. Okay. From there, your music director, your worship arts director, your lead keys, whatever, should be able to take that and run with it. Should be able to take that and build the additional bells and whistles to make it the best it can possibly be, as well as direct those that serve under, so that everybody can be on the same page, right, about how to do things. And let's just have this aside here, right? I have been doing this, playing in churches. I've been playing in churches since I was like 5 to 7. But I've been music directing for over 15 years now, right? And one of the main complaints that I get is how musicians come in and want to do their own thing at this church. And it's all like, it's a shock to me. Like, I get it, but it's a shock to me because I don't know. In me, something says that we should at least ask or analyze, right? Now, from a musician standpoint, like, I get it, 150%. Like, you do what you're used to doing. You do what you're accustomed to doing. Lorenzo, my dude, what's happening? Um, but you have to take. It's important that you take your skill set and you find a way to make it match what's happening in the house that you have elected. Oh, I'm a little low. Thank you, sweetheart. Uh, is this better? I should have done a hearing and seeing test. 2, 3. Hey, hey, hey. How's that? Cool. Okay. I'll give it just a little more to make sure we're fully good. Um, cool. So, yeah, it's my thought process that we should at least analyze, right? Like one thing I used to do when I was considering churches to play at was uh sweet. Thanks, baby girl. Was I would find a live stream. I would go visit and just sit in the back. They wouldn't even know that I'm a prospective, employee. I would just go. Let me see how y'all flow. Let me see, what kind of music y'all do, what kind of songs y'all sing, what the vibe is. Is this even a good fit for me? Sometimes I do it just as a spiritual check. Like, is this a place where I feel comfortable? Is the spirit hooking up with me? Is God okaying me right in this place? You know, but then I have these kind of conversations, right? Because that when let's say if you start playing in the church and it's like heavily CCM, right? And we talking about CCM, Bethel, Hillsong, Elevation, uh, Kim Walker stuff, Jesus culture, all of that, right? But then I come in and I want to play Cooper's Temple. I want to play Spirit and Truth. I want to play uh, West Angeles. I want to play City of Refuge. That's not gonna work. I don't care how killing it is, and vice versa, right? If I go to a place and we are as traditional as they come, choirs marching in, robes, we doing Ricky Dillard, Thomas Whitfield, Mississippi Mass, Alabama Mass, the whole 9 yards. But I come in and I play pads and strings and acoustic guitar and ukuleles and cajones. That's not gonna be sweet. It's going to cause friction, right? We cannot be so entitled to what we're accustomed to, what we're comfortable with, what we like, what our pleasure is, and try to force that on another house like it's sweet and then call it ministry. That's not sweet. It's just not. And that's part of being a good steward of your craft is being able to catch the vision or understand the gift that's been given to you and make the most out of it. Like my prayer for a while, for like a season, or maybe even a couple of seasons, was I took that scripture that says we know in part and we prophesy in part, right? And so I took that to my prayer closet and I was like, God, in every situation that I'm in, I ask that you show me my part and then show me how to maximize my part. Meaning, do my part to the best of my ability. Leave no stone unturned when it comes to doing my part. So as it pertains to music, like, yeah, I've been told that I play piano pretty good. Great. Can I play in all my keys? Do I know everything that my keyboard has to offer? Can I play every style? Uh, am I good with MIDI? Am I good with each type of board that's out there? Can I only play motifs? Like, if I sit down at a Roland, am I shot? If I sit down at a Korg, if I sit down at a Nord, am I shot? Can I play organ? You see what I'm saying? If I end up at a church and all they have is a B3 and all I can play is pianos, well, guess what? You know what I'm saying? So we want to operate in unity, right? So that service and so that ministry is easy. Easy. Is this making sense? Is this helping? Okay. So here is something that I do, right? Whenever I'm new to a place, and you don't have to be new. You don't have to be new. If you've never done what I'm about to say, like now is a good time to start. Okay, is I have vision talk with somebody, right? If I'm not like a music director, right? If I'm just a keyboard player, just a bass player or whatever, like I have a conversation with somebody, the music director, the pastor, the worship arts director, the choir director, whatever, about like what happens here and how do I fit in with that? What are you looking for from me? right? But I'm gonna talk through some things from the music director perspective. Okay. Here's some questions that I asked. Right. I set up a meeting and I run down the list. All right. So some things you can ask is how long is praise and worship? I think I mentioned that earlier. How long is praise and worship? All right. Is there a choir? Do you want a choir? Uh, you know, are you a hooper? Do you like to tune up? Are you more of a talker? Are you more passive? Um, if you do hoop, do you know your key? If you don't, fine, we can figure that out. But if you can tell me, we can skip the guesswork, right? Do you like sermonic selections? Is that part of your service flow here? Do you like altar call stuff? Uh, let's see. Do you guys have like a certain altar call song, or do y'all just kind of flow and make something up? Um, do you okay for Bible study, right? Do y'all have praise and worship service doing that? That's a common thing now. Like Bible studies have become like many Sunday services now, right? I'm aware that there was a time, and some churches still do it, where like Bible study is what they call Bible class. It's actual Bible study where they might not even go in the sanctuary. They are in the basement or in the side classroom and they just study scripture. That's fine too. But if y'all have Wednesday services, uh, is there praise and worship? How long is it? Is it just as long, or is it only one song, or whatever, right? Is that song fast? Is that song slow? Is there a full praise team, or is it just one person? Is there a full band, or is it just Keith? Like, really get descriptive. Do y'all do anything traditional? Do y'all do hymns? Do y'all? Some churches that are quite contemporary, but they still open up with a hymn, right? So do y'all do that, or do y'all no hymns at all? Is there any type of rehearsal? Is it just praise team? Is it praise team and the band rehearsal? Is it praise team, band, and choir? Are musicians required at each one of those rehearsals? Is there a sound check? Do y'all use stems at all? Who do I report to? What's the chain of command, right? If there's an issue, if there's a hiring issue, if there is a payroll issue, if there's a staffing issue, we need a sub or whatever, there's an equipment issue, do I come straight to you with everything, or do you have an accountant? Do you have a deacon or an elder or somebody that I report to? If I'm going to be late, who do I, right? Ask all those questions. There's what's your budget? Let's come on, man. Like, let's not count the church's pockets all the time. Let's just not do it. Like, just ask. And I've said it once, and I'll say it again. Please be worth what you're asking. We'll get into that later, but be honest with yourself about how much you're worth. Okay, and be worth what you're asking. Uh, do you guys have an equipment budget? Right? Some churches do that. Like, there's $500 a quarter, right? Set towards equipment purchases or equipment repairs or whatever. Or do we need to fundraise every time there's something going on, right? Is there a dress code? What time do I need to be here? So like all these, and it seems super descriptive, right? Super nitpicky, but it just, like I said, no stone unturned, right? And what this does is it helps give you a framework, give you both a framework for how to operate or build that department, right? And here's the other side to that, right? Sometimes it's just as helpful for the pastor as it is for you, because some pastors just do not know, right? And that's okay. That's okay. That's why you're in place. Like, if you seek the Lord on where to serve, even if you just go in there for a check, and trust me, I have done it. I do it. Like, there's some times where I'm at church and I'm like, I'm not trying to be a member. I'm not trying to get a minister's license. I ain't gonna hold you. I need a check. Like, just some extra income. Thanks be to God who gives me the power to create wealth. Huh? Okay. Let me get this question here. Should musicians do concerts or something to help raise money to keep a budget, so to keep it as in church? Hey, man, that's a great question. I think that is super helpful to do. I actually just had a conversation with my pastor about doing like a fundraising concert. That's a great idea, man. Like help take some of that pressure off the church, and just like every other member, right? When there's a building fund, when there's a uh, whatever, a certain like missions fund or whatever, people want to see what they're investing into, right? They don't nobody like wasting money. So yeah, if there's like you guys need a whole band overhaul or equipment overhaul, like we need new drums, keys, everything, microphone, whatever, man, yeah, have a concert. And I think it's important that everybody be bought in enough to do that concert for free. 1 hour, 2 hours. If you have good relationships, bring in a couple guest artists that can draw a crowd, and let people know what's up. Hey, this is a fundraising concert to help build funds for our music department. We're hoping to raise X amount of dollars, if you want to say, or we're hoping that each person can give at least X amount of dollars, and see if the church will match it. That could help. I know years ago, I was at this Baptist church and we did one. We had a concert. Told them, yo, like we need to raise like $5,000. And man, once we explained it, put on the concert and everything, uh, I think the men's department, or like the deacon board or something, they did their own fundraiser or put some money together and like gave us, I can't remember how much now, but they like another department of the church took some money and gave it, to the music department, and we got that $5,000, man. That stuff is such a blessing, man. That stuff is still there to this day. New speakers, new soundboard, mic stands, mics, new drums kit and cymbals, drum shield, bass amp. We was able to mic up the organ, and then check it out. The church themselves started to beautify the church. They painted the walls. They themselves put in a projector system, so they start putting slides up and sermon notes and stuff like that. That wasn't in what we were trying to do, but they saw what we were trying to do, and they start taking initiative in other departments of the church. That's how powerful that stuff is, man. That's worship and ministry in unity right there. So, great question. Um, but yeah, when you having these sort of vision talks, it helps kind of expose all the gray areas and overturn all the stones, right? To help things operate in their best possible way. Because sometimes, like I was saying, like sometimes pastors just don't know. One thing they absolutely know is they want it to sound good. You know what I'm saying? Do whatever they got to do. We want it to sound good, and we don't want to break the bank. Those are the big two. Some pastors don't know what stems are. They don't know the benefit of having a Nord. They don't know what an X32 is, or a digital mixer for that sake. They don't know what a P16 is. They don't know what a lapel mic is. They don't know the difference between a Harbinger and a QSC wedge. They don't know. Sometimes they don't care. How much is it? Can we afford it? How does it help? Right? They don't know the benefit of having a band rehearsal separate from a praise team rehearsal. They just don't know, right? And that's where you come in and provide your expertise. Like, look, we have the potential to do X, Y, Z, with this department, which in turn does X, Y, Z for the ministry, right? So it's important. It's important. And then at the end of every meeting, like every vision talk situation that I have, I ask, where would you like to see this department in 6 months to a year? Like, what's your goal? Do you want the choir to grow? Do you want, the live stream to look or sound better? Uh, do you want to gear towards like doing more concerts just to do them? A lot of y'all on here are my St. Louis family. I'm down in Texas now, but it's a lot of STL, East St. Louis in here, and y'all know about Levi King. BFAC did all them concerts. Greater Area Fellowship did all those concerts. You know what I'm saying? Just to do them. I don't know anything about a fundraising initiative behind every concert. It was just, this is what we finna do. So is that part of the goal? You know, do y'all want to travel? It's churches now that like are putting out records. Change Church, Elevation Worship, Bethel. Um, y'all help me out in the comments. I'm sure it's bunches of them. All Nations, right? They're putting out records. I think they're on record number 2 now. Uh, I can't think of anymore, but like is that a part of it, right? Do y'all want to again? Do y'all want to start doing dance? Do y'all want to start doing whatever, right? Like ask all those questions. Okay, it shows that you care about ministry. Notice I said ministry and not the ministry. Okay, that all deals with episode 1. It's a lot of people that get bought into the specific church, right? Which is not necessarily a problem, but if you're more bought into that than you are bought into God, that's a problem. Like if I'm gonna be $150 with everybody watching me, my loyalty is to God before it's loyal to a church, whether I like the church or not. Like I'm here because I prayed about it and God gave me the okay. I have had churches, reaching people reach out to me for certain churches that was making more, almost double what I was making where I was at. But now God said here and not there. That's where I'm finna be at. Dodged a lot of bullets. Sometimes, if I'm honest, man, it didn't always feel good. There's sometimes, bruh, where money was a little tight, and it's like, man, maybe I should have took the gig over at such and such Episcopal, whatever. But when you hear about some of the stuff that went down at such and such Episcopal, whatever, I'm cool to get where I'm at with my little $200, $300. You know, but it's my belief that a real pastor will appreciate somebody's heart for ministry, period, and to see it done well, right? Um, in Exodus, when the Lord was asking, instructing Moses to build the tabernacle, right? He was saying, build this. He was giving all these descriptors and descriptors of how long and how wide and how tall and what kind of wood and what kind of metal and, make this out of silver and make this out of bronze and make that overlay it with gold and get these color threads and stitch together and make this design and hang this and make it this many feet, right? So after he got done, he says, now go grab this metalsmith and this woodworker and this one who is skilled in making perfumes, and go grab this person to do this. I've already put my spirit of wisdom in them to do this certain thing. Why is that important? If you're going to serve in any capacity, but especially leadership, you should be taking pressure and taking weight off of the senior leadership. They shouldn't have to spell something out for you, then go do it themselves, or follow up and nitpick and micromanage and helicopter to make sure it gets done. They have to trust the wisdom in you to do a thing. You have to trust the wisdom in you to do a thing. If you play drums, dag nabbit, guess what? You play drums. Now you got to be a good steward over that drum kit, right? And you play them drums like nobody's business. But if you play drums, you play drums. We shouldn't have to fuss at you about how you play the drums, learning the songs every week, making sure your drums sound good. Are they tuned right? All this kind of stuff. Are you playing too loud? Are you playing too quiet? Are you rushing and dragging? No, if you play drums, bro, play the drums. If you're the sound man, that's exactly what you are. and you should be dope at it. And if you're not dope, please seek help, especially in today's age. Get on YouTube, type in whatever board it is. I don't care if it's analog, digital, whatever. Type in Persona Studio Live, operation, setup, all this kind of stuff. Learn what EQs are. Learn what a high pass filter is. Learn what a gate is, a compressor. You know what I'm saying? Learn how to tune a room. Learn how to work some outboard gear, how to work a power amplifier, how to work passive and active speakers, and what the best way to set it up is, and how not to cross wires and gauges and all that kind of stuff. Learn a different type of cables. Just back there pushing buttons. No. No, no, no. No, no, no. That takes weight off of senior leadership. I don't have to worry about the sound because it's killing every single week. We have a good sound man. We got a good drummer. We got a good praise and worship leader. We shouldn't have to worry about lyrics every week, parts every week, melody every week, stage presence every week. That doesn't help unity. That doesn't help do this. If your pastor has to come up and do extra work after praise and worship, something went wrong. Feel free to disagree in the comments, you know what I'm saying? But something went wrong. That's just how I think a thing through. Okay? So again, vision talk, vision talk, vision talk. Okay? And get help. You know, if you're in a place and you don't know either, that's fine. Connect with somebody that does. Go to a master class. Get on YouTube. Find another church that's doing it well, and go see if you can observe a rehearsal. Ask a question. You know, see if they can come to your church and do a clinic, do a master class or whatever. That's one of the things I love doing, is going to churches and doing clinics and workshops and stuff like that, with the band, with the choir, you know, with dance ministry and all that kind of stuff. I love it, man. Like, we not finna get into wars over denominations and churches and all this kind of stuff, man. We are all a part of the body of Christ. So if I can help your skill set elevate, man, please. Let's do it. Let's work. Okay? Now, we've kind of talked about building the business-ish side of that relationship with the pastor, okay? Let's talk about the personal side of things, because at the end of the day, you, me, the pastor, the worship arts director, your band members, the choir members, we are all human. We are all flesh and blood. If you cut us, we're going to bleed. I don't care how fast or how well you can speak in tongues. I don't care how many scriptures you can quote off. I don't care how many hymns you know. I don't care how many generations of PK you are. We are all human, man. We got feelings. Life happens to us too. And there's been too much of this in the body between these two departments, in my purview, because we don't acknowledge the humanity enough. Like, you're not talking to a number. You're not talking to a signet ring. You're not talking to a robe. You're not talking to an instrument. You're not talking to a robot. You guys are humans working together to serve a greater cause, right? So for that reason, I believe that a relationship between a musician or somebody serving in the worship arts department or whatever and the pastor should look like one of honor first. And that is not a one-way street. I'm nobody's pastor, bishop, apostle, overseer, none of that. But I will say it and say it again. That is, honor is not a one-way street. Who wants to type that in the comments for me? Honor is not a one-way street. You should absolutely honor the pastor of that church, whether you're a member there or not. You should honor him or her as the pastor, of that church. Honor that position in the natural and in the spirit. Pastoring is no easy task. Pastoring is not preaching every Sunday. Pastoring is not a back office and a big, thick black Bible. Pastoring is not high heels and gaiters. Pastor is not a parking space. Pastoring is laborious work. Yes, you sermon prep, but you also counsel and you intercede and you build ministries and you manage budgets and you manage departments and you might have a job outside of all of that. And you have a family and you have a spouse and you have friends and you're involved in other community and initiatives and things. Some of your pastors are part of D9 organizations that do stuff in the community. Some of them serve on other boards like NAACPs and other boards in education and things of that nature, city officials and all that kind of stuff. Some of them are just your regular white and blue collar employees who have days and hospital visits and things of that nature. Some of your pastors pastor and oversee other churches outside of their own. You should absolutely honor that. Musicians, praise and worship leaders, worship arts directors, choir directors, ministers of music, you should be honored for what you do. You should be honored for who you are. You are not what you do, but you should be honored. You should be respected. Even if that conversation is 5 minutes, you should be acknowledged. It's not in titles. We love a good doc, a good prelate, a good bishop, a good reverend, a good bishop, a good man of God with a D on the end. That ain't necessarily honor. Now, I ain't saying go around and start calling your pastor by their first name. That's definitely dishonor. But it should be one of honor. You know what I'm saying? If the pastor says they're going to meet with you, your time should be honored. Your presence should be honored. It's not I'm meeting with you, but I can't even look you in the face and I'm doing 50 other things right now. No, I set apart this time to meet with you. We're going to meet. I'm not calling you all hours of the night, about church stuff, about 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Oh, I need to slide prepared for XYZ. And I understand there are churches that do that and people who love their pastors and they're going to do it, and that's fine. I'm willing to be wrong. I'll say that publicly. I can't say that I honor you and respect you in your time and I'm hitting you up that late, that early in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I just can't see that happening. Vice versa. I better be near death if I'm gonna hit my pastor up at midnight, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. My pastor or a pastor. You do not need a doggone thing that bad. I don't need a paycheck that bad. I don't need a piece of gear that bad. I don't need an amp, sound check, nothing that bad. Well, I ain't gonna be there. More often than not, you knew that before 2 a.m. Sunday morning. Like you were not less than as a human being because of what you do or whatever rank you have in the church. If we can't respect each other, if we can't establish honor, it's gonna be hard to serve together. There's a passage in 1 Thessalonians 5:13 that admonishes the shepherd and the sheep to live peaceably with one another. That means when we come to do ministry, we should be at peace. We shouldn't be doing this. We should be ready for this so that we can go up together. Okay, you guys are both there to serve God's vision for that house. And let's talk about the vice versa, because you talked about a lot of what pastors do. Man, let's talk about these musicians, man. Like we get criticized for being hirelings and only in here for a check, and you don't know the Lord for real, and you don't have a real life outside of this. Like, yeah, we might play at 2-3 churches, so you might work 2 or 3 jobs too. That's important to have that conversation that says, hey, I play at this church or that church or these churches, so I need to be out of here at this time, just let you know up front. That's part of honor and respect. Musicians have families too. Musicians play in churches and they have 9-to-5s too, and they have their own businesses too. And I'm a part of a D-Nout organization as well. We do more than just Sunday mornings too. We spend time learning songs. We have 2 and 3 rehearsals throughout the week. We might play for other bands throughout the week. I was a music director for 2 churches and was in school, and was a music director for two artists, and was working on a bachelor's degree. My wife would tell you, my grandma, my auntie would tell you, staying up to 2, 3 in the morning in practice rooms, prepping for ministry, doing homework, transcribing, bags under my eyes. There's a lot of musicians that are more theologically sound than some preachers, that understand more about the spiritual realm and just the realm of religion, what other cultures and religions believe and why. They understand. There's some musicians that understand more about song structure and the meaning behind certain lyrics more than worship arts directors and praise and worship leaders. Their parents too. They they got bills too. They need prayer too. I'm saying we need prayer too. We pray too. It's important to have some semblance of a relationship with them. Check in with them, man. How is life going? Are you okay? While we're showing up early and leaving late, making sure there's an atmosphere for what you guys want, we need it too. And it's my belief that it shouldn't, like, membership shouldn't be a prerequisite for that. And I'm grateful for the many pastors who have checked in with me, prophesied to me, prayed for me, laid hands on me without me being a member. Oh, yeah. I'm fortunate, man. It's important. Again, we are both here to serve God's vision for this house, and we are both part of the body of Christ at large. This is not a cult. This is not a clique. No, we're here to do ministry at this location, at this